Started by the College Football Show. Wherever or have you are listening, we're so grateful to have you here with us. As you guys know, I'm your host, Kashawn Cottle, and boy, do we have a lot of stuff to cover today in our recap show. We're going to be recapping some of the biggest moments, the top games, and the biggest storylines coming out of week 1 of this college football season. And we've got a lot to talk about, guys, so we're not going to waste any time. But before we get started, if you haven't already, be sure to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button as well, so you guys can stay up to date on all of our latest content. And if you'd like to gain exclusive content, be sure to follow us on patreon.com. You can do so by going to patreon.com, clicking on the search bar, and typing in Started by the Show. That way you can get access to all of our exclusive content that we post daily. And if you'd like to support our network and our company, you can do so by following the link in the ticker below. It's streamelements.com/StartedByTheShow/tip, and we'll leave all the links in the description as well. That way you guys don't miss anything. So that being said, guys, let's go ahead and get right into it, shall we? Like I said, we've got a lot of storylines to cover in our recap show today, guys. Let's start with what many consider to be the most exciting game of the week that came on last night between USC and LSU. And it was a highly touted matchup between the Big Ten and SEC schools, USC and LSU respectively. And going into the matchup, there were a lot of questions for both teams. For USC, it was whether Lincoln Riley would be able to turn this defense around. Would he be able to still be successful despite not having Caleb Williams under helm? And how would USC be able to transition to the physicality of the new conference being the Big Ten? And for LSU, there were also many questions. Would Brian Kelly be able to also have success on the offensive side of the ball without Jaden Daniels? Would LSU shore up the secondary? Would they be able to add interior presence on the front seven? And I believe we got some answers to those questions during this matchup. And listen, you guys saw our preview show that we did on Thursday for this matchup, and I stated that I believed that this was going to be a high-scoring game, and I believed that LSU was going to be able to take the victory against USC, but it turned out that I was wrong, and I was wrong about quite a few things. Listen, I thought that both teams would be right, like our co-host Dre says, you start at 0-2, what happens? Dre was another person that thought that this would be a different result, but like Dre says, it happens. But I did not expect USC to be as physically dominant and imposing on the defensive side of the ball as they were. Listen, I could count on numerous occasions where it looked like the front line for LSU got good blocking and the running backs hit the hole, and what you would expect it to be a 7 to 8 yard gain ended up being only 4 or 5 because of the physicality of the hits that USC was imposing on LSU. And to give credit to USC on the defensive end, I also have to give a little bit of credit to LSU on the defensive end as well. Obviously, they limited USC to 27 points. However, I have a lot of questions for LSU on the offensive side of the ball, specifically with how much success and how much explosiveness can they really have on the offensive side of the ball with Garrett Nussmeier as their starting quarterback. And that's nothing against Nussmeier, because it would be hard for any quarterback to follow up with what Jaden Daniels did last season. But listen, losing Daniels and Malik Neighbors as well to the draft causes LSU to lack explosiveness on the outside and in the running game. So LSU perhaps was overvalued in my estimation going into the season. And because of that, are we properly evaluating USC based on their performance? I believe two things can be true at the same time. I believe that I did undervalue USC and I overvalued LSU. And I don't want to take away anything from what USC did during this performance against LSU last night. But I do have to be transparent. I do have to be objective and state that this wasn't Ole Miss that USC beat. This wasn't Alabama that USC beat. This wasn't Texas that USC beat. This wasn't Georgia that USC beat. So it's hard for me to really give USC the amount of credit that other people in the media industry are giving, because I understand what LSU is now. And because of understanding what LSU is now, I just can't give that much credit to USC based off their performance. Because LSU missed out on ample opportunities, in my opinion, to on key third downs and a couple of missed receivers that were wide open by Garrett Nussmeier. So there were many opportunities that LSU had to take advantage of the game in which they didn't. But I will say this: USC will be a much more difficult matchup in the Big Ten than I was expecting. But if you were asking me if I think either of these teams are playoff teams, I would say no. I don't believe that. Well, I would say USC is a playoff team, but I don't believe LSU is a playoff team. Now, will both of these teams get into the playoff? That's still a very high possibility, just due to their pedigree, due to the name of their school, and due to the fact that they both play in the two toughest conferences in college football. So I do believe that USC is better than what I expected, but LSU is much, much, much worse than I expected. And I won't be surprised if going into this, at the end of the season, LSU finishes at or one or two games above 500. Because the SEC is so dominant this season and there's so many teams from top to bottom, I just don't see how LSU, based on the way they played yesterday, is going to be able to be consistent, be successful. But LSU can go one or two ways. Though I wouldn't be surprised if they finish at one or two games above 500. Also wouldn't be surprised if they end up making the playoff. And that's only because of the coaching pedigree of Brian Kelly. So let me know what you guys think, though. Leave your thoughts in the comments section. What do you guys think about USC? Are they a legitimate playoff team? Same thing with LSU. Let me know what you guys think in the comments section. I'm looking forward to hearing all about it. But guys, in our next segment, we are going to be discussing another team that I might have undervalued, and a team that Dre might have undervalued as well. So be sure to stick around for that, guys. You're not going to miss it. We'll be right back.